Welcome to the Books Between Friends podcast.
3 lifelong friends,
one shared obsession.
Books.
From epic fantasy to page-turning thrillers.
We dive into the stories we love
And the ones we just can't stop talking about.
So take a seat,
Grab a drink,
and get cozy. Welcome back, book friends. Speaking of cozy, what's making you guys feel cozy these days? So for me, I was actually just telling Ethan and Stephanie that I've been reading The Love Hypothesis. I actually started it today, and I have been eating it up, y'all. And I was a little hesitant to start it only because I have tried to read another Ali Hazelwood book, and I was not a fan. So I was like, I hope all her writing is not the same. But I'm eating this book up. It's 350 pages. I'm already 200 pages in. I love it, y'all. So that's been keeping me cozy. Taking a break from fantasy has been keeping me cozy this week. Just I really needed that break from all the high stakes and the freaking killing and all the devastation that I've been reading in Zodiac Academy. So
it's funny.
So I'm really happy. That's been really great. What about you guys?
It's good to have a palate cleanser every now and then.
Yes, it's really been helping a lot. Anyways.
So, as you guys know, I'm in my Kindle girly era.
Love it.
And so a little while ago, I placed a bunch of holds on Libby.
Oh.
And now it's a problem because they have all
released.
Become available. Yeah. To borrow. So now I'm overwhelmed with all these books that I have to read in 21 days. So it's like a marathon.
That's the same. I've seen a lot of people post about that, how that really frustrates them, how Libby does that.
Yes. It's so hard because now I'm just my anxiety is up because I'm oh my God, the clock is ticking. I need to read all these books. But no, it's a good problem to have.
I was just gonna say that's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
Well, for me, Jen and Steph know I've been having some family time with just some not so happy things happening with family. But what has come out of that is just family being together in general, and so that was really nice. I was cooking just last night with my cousins, and we were all just together, and it was nice despite what was going on. So yeah, it was just the family spirit was in there. We were making some carne asada and some tortillas.
Sounds so good.
And rice and beans. So shout out to all of my cousins. We were having a good time.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
I love family time, especially whenever it's been a while and you get to catch up and everybody's just having a great time.
Yeah, because we're all kind
great.
of spread around the country. The cousins wise, I have a cousin in New York, I have a cousin in Philadelphia, and then one in Florida, and another in Texas. And
Literally across the country, gosh.
Yeah, literally across the country. So it was good to see everyone. It really was.
I mean, it already
That's
it's
awesome.
already hard enough to get together when you're within the same city. Imagine different states. That's already even harder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
It's
glad you
rare
guys
to have
see
a chance
family.
like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's good.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, book friends, we are so excited to start discussion of part 2 of The Bewitching by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. This has been such a great read. It has just been picking up ever since we left off from our last episode. So I am so excited to get into this. But before we get started, y'all, I'm going to pass it over really quick to Steph for a quick spoiler warning and some shout outs.
So quick spoiler warning. If you guys are listening to this podcast episode, we're assuming that you've read up to chapter 7 of the 1998 timeline in The Bewitching. So make sure that you've read up to that point before listening to this episode, because we are going to be giving spoilers and you want to make sure not to spoil it for yourself. And then also help us grow. If you want to help us out, something quick and easy that you can do is give us a quick review on Apple Podcasts. That is how other book friends can find us. So please do that. And then we also want to give a shout out to one of our followers, Spells from the Shelf on Instagram. Cool name, by the way.
Yeah.
It's been really cool getting to know Amy, and we've been chatting about some of our favorite books and what we've read on the podcast. And we hope you guys actually end up reading Mistborn and listening to those episodes. We highly recommend it.
We loved that book. It was so good.
Yes, very, very good.
A lot of great discussion points too, and theories,
Mm-hmm.
especially because of the Cosmere that, Brandon Sanderson has just created that I have no idea like what's going to happen in there. All right. So, let's get into our discussion, but before we get into our 3, 2, 1, I'm going to do a quick summary of each time period. So, 1998, we are with Minerva. And so, where we're at now is Minerva's investigation into Beatrice Tremblay's mysterious past. It starts to deepen as she starts gaining access to her private journals and her unpublished manuscript. Her visits to Carolyn Yates' home, the only surviving member so far of Beatrice's friend group. It starts revealing chilling details about the disappearance of Virginia Somerset in 1934. Minerva grows increasingly unsettled by how closely Beatrice's writings mirrors her own experiences at Stonebridge, strange noises in the library, vanished students, and a pervasive sense of being watched. With the help of Noah Yates, Carolyn's grandson, she starts piecing together the connection between Beatrice's fiction and real events surrounding Briar Commons. As she dives deeper, Minerva discovers unsettling similarities between Virginia and a missing student named Thomas Murphy, whose doodles and notes match Virginia's sketches from decades earlier. Her research leads her to explore witchcraft lore, threshold symbols, apotropaic marks, and protective rituals, and she begins to suspect something ancient and sinister might be haunting the college. That suspicion grows terrifyingly real when she returns home to find a dead rat on her kitchen table, just as Beatrice once described in her manuscript. So that was 1998. Now in 1908 with Alba, so where we're at right now, in Mexico, Alba Quiroga's world unravels after her brother Tadeo vanishes, leaving only bloodstains behind. While her uncle Arturo dismisses her fears as hysteria, Alba and her childhood friend Valentin suspect something darker, perhaps a witch's curse. When animals begin dying and eerie cries fill the night, Alba's fears deepens. Desperate for answers, Alba visits the feared hamlet of Los Pinos, where the witch Doña Jovita confirms that her family is haunted by a Teyoloquani, a witch that consumes hearts and thrives on fear. Jovita recognizes Alba's prophetic portents and claims she was born with the sight. To protect herself, Alba must spill her own blood over a stuffed dove charm and place it by her window to repel evil. But protection comes at a cost. Jovita demands her father's emerald ring, and Alba realizes that faith and superstition may both be dangerous. When she and Valentin encounter Perpetua, the woman last seen fighting with Tadeo, Alba's terror becomes personal. And when Valentin kisses her goodbye, she's left questioning whether love or darkness has bound them all together. All right, and now the last time period, 1934, with Beatrice and her friends. So 1934, during a Halloween party, Virginia reveals she's engaged to Edgar Yates, but the night turns strange when she claims something inhuman followed her, breathing down her neck, moving like an animal, not a man. 3 days later, during a seance, Virginia slips into a trance and a voice warns her, "You are in deadly peril." From that moment, her sanity begins to fray. She's convinced she's being stalked by a man in a blue overcoat, finds dead animals in her bed, and places charms around her dorm to ward off witchcraft. Even Beatrice begins to doubt what's real. All right, so that's what's happening right now in all 3 time periods. And now let's get into our 3, 2, 1. So we're going to start off with 3 things that really stuck out to us. And I will start with the first one because we mentioned in our last episode, or Ethan did, that there has been a pattern with like all 3 time periods. But I feel like there's something that doesn't fit with this pattern. So the first thing that stuck out to me was Tadeo's disappearance. I feel like that doesn't fit the pattern that we're seeing with what happened with Thomas and Virginia and what they experienced before they disappeared. So
Right.
they talked about having like that sense of someone was watching them, following them, becoming extremely paranoid. But Tadeo was not experiencing any of that. He went from being like super happy, running his farm, to just being gone. And now all the weird stuff is happening now that he's gone. So it's like, that doesn't match. Like, what's going on here? What, like, do we think he was just caught in the crossfires of things?
Well, okay, I almost want to disagree with you because we don't really know what he's experiencing because this section is in Alba's point of view. And from Alba's
True.
point of view, he seems to me a little bit irritable. And at first I was attributing that to he's suddenly found himself the man of the house. He's not that old. didn't they say he's like 19 or 20?
He's 18.
Yeah. And so, like, and then also he's being pressured by older men, like a neighbor and now his uncle, who's kind of being this imposing presence at home, trying to pressure him to sell the family farm. So it's a lot that he's taken on all at once, along with the death of his father. And so I was attributing his irritability to that, but maybe he has been experiencing some of this foreboding presence that the others have. We just don't know because we don't have his perspective.
True.
Right. We also get a lot of world building in this time period of the lore around witchcraft instead of, because from the other time
True.
periods it's more of like a research perspective, but in
Right.
this time period it's very applicable. Like it's actually happening in real time. So
Right.
part of that is when they go to Jovita to get help, basically,
Uh-huh.
she lets them know how Teoloquani, is that right?
Yeah, that's
Teoloquani,
right.
Yeah.
how they operate, right? They operate
Right.
in instilling fear, right? And that's
Hmm.
how they thrive, and that's like they want that.
Right.
Really, like Tadeo could be kind of collateral damage here because the real target is probably Alba. And so when
Okay.
they're instilling that fear in Alba and they're feeding off of her, right? So I don't necessarily know if Tadeo was, I think you're right, he doesn't fit the pattern, but I don't think that that he's the target here. Whereas
Right.
Virginia probably was, right? Because
True.
she's spiritual,
Right.
she could have
Hmm.
some stuff about her, and also Minerva is like, maybe we don't know, right? We don't
Right.
know if
Yeah.
she has that or
Hmm.
not, but she is Alba's granddaughter,
Right.
right? So she
Right.
could.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're right, Steph. We're not getting his POV, and he wasn't super open about what was going on with him, with Alba, so we don't know because she
Hmm.
didn't know about Thomas when he was experiencing it until she talked to Conrad.
Right.
So like I get that part, but I think like just from reading this section, I just didn't see that pattern fit, I guess.
Sure.
Especially
Yeah,
since we're
Yeah.
trying
I
to
agree.
connect everything.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, so that was my first thing. The second thing, which I have a few things to talk about on this one. Okay, so the mention of the Teoloquani. Okay, that was what really stuck out to me. I was like, all right, I really want to know more. I actually called my mom too, so I'll let you guys know how that conversation went. All right. So, according to the book, apparently this was the most dangerous of the witches. They sucked human blood and devoured the hearts of men, for in the heart resides the life force of all creatures, right? They were formidable. It was the kind that you kind of just speak about, like, because you don't speak about it because you're so scared. Like, you kind of just whisper
Like
about it,
Voldemort.
right? Yeah. And so this is a type of witch that gets brought up again when Alba and Valentin go and visit Jovita, and she tells Alba, "There's a shadow upon you. A Tegaloquani haunts your family. Such a witch is dangerous. No ordinary mischief interests a Tegaloquani. You must watch your step. They can turn their enemies into animals, into things." She tells Alba that the Tegaloquani ate Tadeo and left his bones in a field somewhere. So Valentin brings it up first. He, I think, brings it up to Alba first, and then when they go to see Jovita, she brings it up again. And so in Alba's mind, she's thinking, "Oh, Valentin must have told her what he thought about this, right?" And so this gets brought up. And the only reason I think it's interesting is because there was a part which I forgot to put on here, but I did make sure I marked it, where Jovita is telling Alba that the Tegaloquani have minions, and she said on here, it'll make it hell in the summer or cause restless dreams. She's talking about bewitchment. It'll send its minions like the owl. And so it made me think about what my mom has told me about the freaking owl. And so I called
Yeah.
her and I asked her, I'm like, "Hey, have you heard of this word, Teoloquani?" And so she hasn't, but she was telling me more about the owl. And she said that when you know it's a witch is when they whistle at you. And so if you ever heard an owl whistle at you, then you know it's a witch in the form of an owl, right? And so that just
Oh my
made
God.
me thought of that. But the other thing she also told me, and what my brother also told me, because I tried to bring this book up to him, and he immediately shut down the conversation. He was like, "You will not bring up witchcraft or witch lore or talks to spirits in my home because we don't talk about that here. We rebuke it. We like don't bring that into our home ever. And I was like, okay, I am so sorry.
Fair.
Like,
Okay.
yeah, exactly. He was like, because when you give it meaning, then you're giving it power. And it was the same thing that Ethan, you brought
Yeah.
up last time about Minerva.
Right.
And it's the same thing my mom told me. She was like, we don't talk about that. She's like, I've always been scared to talk about that because the more you give it, the more you talk about it, the more power you give it. And so kind of like the Teoloquani, like what you're saying, Ethan, and I forgot what I was about to say. I completely forgot.
It'll come back to you.
It'll
probably.
come back to me, yeah. So the other thing I did was I Googled it because I was so interested in this
Yeah,
word.
everyone's like, don't talk about it. And you're like, okay, Google.
Look, I just won't talk about it around them, okay? I just won't, okay?
Yeah. No, I get it.
So I
get
Googled it, and they're apparently known as Mexico's vampire witch. And they can
it.
shapeshift.
Ooh.
Yeah. And so they can either take the form of a harmless elderly woman or man, but they shape-shift into animals, usually a turkey, a vulture, or other large birds.
Birds.
My gosh.
Birds.
And the birds come up again.
So yeah, so now kind of knowing that, and really it only coming up in the 1908, like I feel like that's going to come up more in section 3, when we start like kind of digging more into 1998 and 1934. But I think that like I think one of them is the Tegeloquani. So yes, that was my second thought going into this. Like all of these things started kind of coming together. The talk of the owl, the talk of the bird, the talk of like shape shifting, the talk that the more you talk about it, the more power you're giving it. The fear part of it, where like, you know, all of these people who have disappeared have really like leaned into the fear because they were being followed. Like that was causing a lot of fear in them before they disappeared. So it's just like building up to like a big reveal. What did you guys think?
Oh gosh. Well, it's interesting that you say vampire witch because that's mentioned too with like blood
Mm-hmm.
in it, that they feed off of blood and fear,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
And so I think that's interesting. But yeah, I mean, all of this reminds me because even my dad will tell me stories about, you know, our family line coming from Mexico and how some of, I could be, I don't know, making this up in my head, but I feel like he said somewhere down in our family line, like we practice like white magic, you know, and they would break an egg in a bowl and
Yeah.
you know put it under.
I know about the eggs.
Yeah, I was gonna say we
But
did.
they were talking about putting scissors in a bowl and stuff like this in this section. I was like, oh yeah, I've heard these stories before, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, that's cool. That's a little nostalgic nod.
So there is like a history of that in our family too, but not in a
Mhm.
very positive way. Like I know
Oh.
my mom used to talk about one of our aunts messing with witchcraft, but in more of like a hex and curse kind of form. And like
Ooh.
not being close to her because of that. And then my
Mhm.
mom actually did tell me too that my grandparents used to take all the kids to go see like a curandera, but like a witch doctor in a bad way, not in a
Mm.
positive healing way. Yeah. So I'm like, our ancestors really pissed off our line because this is why we don't talk about it though, because then we're giving it
Now
power,
you're like,
right?
we don't talk about
We
it.
don't talk about it, yeah. And here I am having a podcast over it. Let's
I
go.
know, reading about it, researching.
So I mentioned last time that so my family comes from Honduras, and so we don't have this culture around witchcraft and lore. But I
Mhm.
did grow up in Texas around Mexican culture, and so like I do have one memory as a child going to someone's house who was a curandera who
Mhm.
practiced white magic. And I think it had to do with like either my mom or my dad had like back pain and they did something with an egg in a bowl. I was young at the time, so I don't exactly know the details of it or what it was supposed to do, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's
I
all I got.
my grandmother used to do that too when we would have really bad like stomach aches. She would crack the egg to figure out what was wrong with us. But anyways,
Okay.
yeah, a lot of weird stuff. But yes, sorry. All right. The third thing that really stuck out to me were these marks that Minerva found when she was reading some of these books that she found later. I think it was like the last chapter. So there was a section Minerva read in the book, A History of Witchcraft Lore, where she was reading about the apotropaic mark, which is also called a witch mark. It's a symbol or pattern scratched on the walls of a building to protect it from evil spirits. So the word apotropaic comes from the Greek word for averting evil. The markings that she found in the book were similar to the sketches and the doodles that both Ginny and Thomas drew in their own notebooks. So it made me question, were the markings that she found on her door placed there by someone to help protect her from evil? Because these symbols or these patterns are scratched on the walls of a building to protect it from evil spirits, right? So is somebody trying to protect her? Like, I started questioning that. So I was like, okay, is it put there for protection or was it put there for evil? Because then later she starts talking about it in the same chapter. She talks about bewitchment and how hexes come in shapes.
Right.
And so she was like, a witch can make an effigy of their enemy, stuff a bottle with nails, or simply draw a sigil on their property. So which one is it, y'all? Is somebody trying to protect her or is somebody trying to bewitch her?
Well, like the sketches that she found in Thomas's notebook were like circles and then this flower pattern. And we're talking about straight lines, so not the
Right.
same. And both Ginny's and Thomas's sketches, she like compared the two and they were the exact same patterns and they even could almost like overlap over each other. They were the exact same thing. And keep in mind, these people are like far removed, like they never met each other. So, and then in Beatrice's manuscript, she talks about Ginny saying that she would just draw whatever the spirits like impressed upon her.
Right.
So, and so like, why would Thomas draw the exact same thing? And the only place that he could have ever seen that was at the Yates's house, maybe. So like maybe he saw it on the wall and, you know, he just drew it from memory, but I don't know. I think there's something more to that. And then the parallel lines is nothing of the sort, you
But
know?
he found a lot of these books though. And so here's
Yeah.
a connection that it's not really my theory, but I'm going to bring it up as a theory. He brought up working with Noah. So Noah and Thomas knew each other. And they had some of the same classes around this witchcraft lore book or whatever, or the history of this. Like they were learning about a religion or something, like a religious class. So this is just what I think. I think Noah, it was probably trying to help him by maybe introducing some of these books that have these patterns and stuff to avert evil. I'm seeing Noah as good. I like the friendship he's creating with Minerva. I don't see him as a gateway to Caroline. I think he's trying to help because he doesn't like his grandmother.
Okay.
I do suspect Noah. I don't trust him.
I don't, but
we'll
again,
see.
I'll talk about it later. Okay.
I also suspect Noah, but that's going to play into a prediction for me later.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So to get into my three things, bringing it back to Noah, since we already started talking about it, when he took Minerva to that abandoned factory and they were talking about her great grandmother, she thought to herself while they were talking about that, she met a monster and survived. That like flash warnings in my head. I was like, hold on. Like, obviously, we know in the 1908 timeline right now, Alba's going through some things. And we don't exactly know who is the source of everything. Like,
Right.
could it be one of, you know, that witch that they saw at Los Pinos on their way out? Could it be Valentin? Could it be, I don't know, like, could it be her uncle? I suspect maybe her uncle employed someone to bewitch her. I don't know. Like, we know he used to visit the witches in Los Pinos before, and now he kind of denounces that and like is really trying to prevent Alba from talking to them and meeting with them and looking into these things. And so that makes me wonder if he just doesn't want her to find out and then suspect him.
Right.
Anyway, that's where my head went when Minerva made that comment, but she didn't even make the comment. She thought to herself this
Yeah.
just this thought. and didn't say anything to Noah about it. But I'm just thinking
Well,
like, okay, one of these people in her storyline is like that person, you know?
and so she knows then. She knows what
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
So it makes me think
So
like,
I'm
why are you not
curious.
connecting more things to 1908? Why are you just still connecting? Well, she's starting to connect a little bit to some of her great grandmother's
Right.
stories, like she said, but she's still
Right.
connecting a lot more to
Barely.
1934. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
like,
So,
if she knew what happened, then, anyways, I'm
right.
curious.
Yeah.
And then my second thing was, so Carolyn and her dad were talking right before their Thanksgiving break, and they were talking about needing two of something. Betty thought that they were talking about maybe needing some loans because there was a conversation she had. I think it was at the Halloween party with her date, or maybe some of the other people that they were with, that apparently their factory was like falling on hard times financially. So she just assumed that what they were talking about was maybe loans or something to do with the business. But
Mm-hmm.
I think they were talking about people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think so, like, remember, I have suspected Carolyn this whole time in that 1934 timeline.
Yep.
And I think she has it out for Ginny
Mm-hmm.
because she, at this point, is engaged now to what's his name? Edgar. And Edgar is from a powerful,
Wealthy.
like more wealthy family than hers. And what does her family need right now? Money.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
I think this was her scheme to make sure that her wealth stayed in place. And if they needed to, you know, this whole storyline we're talking about, Ginny disappeared, Ginny like maybe ran away, but Santiago disappeared too. They say that maybe Santiago did something to her or she ran away with him, but no, he disappeared
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think there's the two that they were talking about.
So I think that you're right that there is a connection to needing the money from Edgar because she made the comment, you must increase the pace. It's becoming dire and the tuition for next term is due. So it's like she needs the
Right.
money. And then she also said, I've done my bit and there's nothing to show for it. And she had made a comment before this that she had a new beau in mind, but that she didn't want to let go of David, per se, until she had this new beau. And so she's
Mm.
been trying to make advances on Edgar with no avail because obviously
Yeah.
he proposed to Jenny. And so, but then she also questioned like it would be easier if it was just one. Why two? So I'm like, yeah.
As we're talking, I'm wondering if she's not a witch or like anything like that. I'm wondering if she sought out the help of a witch to get
Mm.
what she wanted.
Kind of like Uncle Arturo,
Yeah.
or that we're thinking that Uncle
Yeah,
Arturo
I'm
did.
thinking Uncle Arturo did that. And so maybe Carolyn or maybe her dad did that. And so, because he's the one telling her, we need two. And
Mm-hmm.
she's like, why though? Like, I did my part. But now that she knows we need two, and we know that she's very comfy in her lifestyle, and she seems to be very pushy with her dad that he needs to get this money.
Yeah.
So maybe she sees an opportunity. Oh, we need to. I got you too.
Yeah.
I mean, they talk about these. They talked about the Tegeloquani being opportunist. What do I say?
Opportunistic. Yeah.
Opportunistic.
Opportunistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
yeah, great point.
Yeah, and then my third thing was when Minerva was looking through Thomas's things, she looked up out of the box where she was like pulling things out, and she just noticed like all these stuffed birds in the building. And I was just like, oh my gosh, because after our last conversation, Ethan, you brought up the birds, and I was like, okay, I need to look out for birds.
Yeah.
And we had just read in the 1908 timeline about the dove that she got
Mm.
as
The talisman.
as protection
Mm-hmm.
from the Teoloquani.
Mm-hmm.
And so why would someone have all of these birds in this house? Like Minerva didn't put them there. She just noticed that they're on the walls. So I'm curious, like, who put those birds there? Have they always been there? Did she just notice them? Like, it wasn't like, it was just like a thing in passing, like all
Yeah.
these birds. So I'm just like, I need to know more about these birds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. So that plays into my three things. I'm gonna kind of echo what's already been said here. Is like, yes, the birds noticed a lot. I'm wondering, like, if disappearances are common in this college's history,
Yeah.
because
Ooh,
I'm wondering if that's where like the peacocks are coming from. Like, if the peacocks are
okay.
actually like people.
Oh
Um,
my gosh.
Because remember, okay, so you told me about
Yes.
that. Ethan, no, like Ethan had texted me. He was like, "Is that right? Is that correct?" I'm like, "I don't know. Like, it doesn't mean they're dead. Like, they haven't talked about them being dead. They're just gone." And then that
Yeah.
whole the like Koyani thing came up where it said that that witch can turn people into animals.
Into animals.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah, so that's one of my things. I'm like, that kind
Wow.
of stuck out to me.
Totally.
Yeah. Another thing that stuck out was the drawings, and I'm in the camp of that she's been marked rather than someone's trying to protect her because of the differences that were
Hmm.
explained. Like, it's more
Okay.
circular with the witch mark, and hers was definitely, more geometric in the sense that it's parallel and it's straight, not
Hmm.
curved or anything like that.
So
So
Yeah.
that's where my mind went on that. And then the third thing, I'm not going to dive in too deep because it's going to play into a prediction of mine, is the idea of blood and how it can be how they feed the Teoloquani. And so I'm really excited to talk about that one because I want to see what y'all think.
okay.
But
Okay.
those are my three, and I can just say that this section, you know how you just pick up a book and it's like it's the right book at the right time,
Hmm.
and you're just so invested in it, and like
Yes.
I feel
Yeah.
like when I get to the end of this book, it's going to be a 6-star read for me because like
Okay.
Okay.
it's just
Wow.
the right book at the right time, and it's the right time of year. It's spooky. I love horror. All of it. It just has
Yeah.
everything going for me. And so
Yeah.
I cannot like explain how much I've enjoyed this book so far.
I like it. I really do because it really does make
I'm
me
loving
like
it.
think about my childhood.
Yeah. And it
Okay.
really is like perfect timing for this book because I'm like, I shouldn't be reading this at night, but this is fun.
Yeah.
So that was our three things that stuck out to us. Let's move on to our two character moments that left an impact. So my first one, I want to talk about him because I feel like it's kind of an obvious that he's a good guy, but I'm starting to doubt it just a little bit. So Valentin, I want to believe you guys that he's good, but because I've really liked him so far. Like I seem to really think like he really does care about Alba. Like he's very sweet on her. He like wants to court her, wants to hopefully marry her one day, and like he's been really
Hmm.
helping. He really helped try to search for that ale whenever he went missing. But I just find it very suspicious that he keeps defending Perpetua. And I'm not saying that she's solely responsible for what happened to Tadeo. I don't think that like maybe she was the only thing. I think she was involved though. I don't think she was completely innocent because Alba even asked Valentin, so Perpetua is a good witch? And he goes, well, not necessarily, but she wouldn't do that to him, is what he said, is how he responded to that. And twice now he's defended her. And twice now Perpetua has done something towards Alba to show her dislike. So I'm like, A, why does he keep defending her when clearly there's something there? And B, like, why is he the one that keeps pushing her towards like going to Jovita? Why is the one he keeps pushing her to think that this is what this could be? Is he pushing her towards something negative? Like, is he the one leading her to that? I don't know, but I'm starting to suspect Valentin. What do you guys think?
I'm on your wavelength. I'm on
Okay.
your wavelength with that. I was like, it's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me just say this. I think Valentine could very well, he's either a red herring and throwing us off the trail, or he is the person that we're suspecting. Because I think it's very interesting that we have someone named Valentine and then we have someone named Santiago in another time period.
Yeah.
I'm like, could he have just changed his name and they're the same person?
Oh,
Like, that's where my mind
okay.
went because
They do get
He,
described the same way.
I was like,
Sorry.
if you're like really reading into what he's saying, into what Jovita was saying, right, where they're feeding off of you, the person that's in prime place to do that is Valentine. He's feeding off of every little thing that Alba is feeling because she goes to him. She
Right.
confides in him.
She
And
does.
so, and now he knows how to get to her even further because of what Jovita is saying and telling her. So he could be in
Yeah.
a very prime position to be the one.
And Santiago
So-
is the one also believing Virginia, and he's the one supposedly helping her. So interesting. I see. I didn't even think about that. I just thought about the way he's been like defending Perpetua. Like, I don't like that.
Yeah. Like honestly, my brain didn't go there and I didn't pick up on the things that you brought up about Valentine. But now that we're talking about it, I connecting the dots and I'm like, okay, okay. But to like throw a wrench into things, if we're thinking Santiago and Valentine might be the same person, they're like 30 some years removed, right? And I think Santiago was described to be about the same age as the other
21.
girls that were in the college. So
He's
that kind of
older.
doesn't track, but maybe
Yeah.
witchcraft could take care of that. I don't know.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was thinking more like because they talk about youth
Yeah.
with this,
Yeah,
and so
true.
if that's
And
the case,
then
then he's remaining perpetually young.
Right.
and then another thing is like not trying to like say you're wrong, but I'm like maybe he's not like the I don't know
The main one.
orchestrator of
Yeah.
all this, but like maybe he's a minion
A
of the
minion.
Teolocuani
Hmm.
because Jovita did say like sends her minions, so maybe
Maybe
that's his
he-
role in this.
Maybe he's been shape shifting into things that have been killing the animals on the farm.
Right, yeah, whatever
Yep.
she heard before the horse was discovered.
Yeah, he always seems to be a first responder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, ooh.
And he
ooh.
was the one that rounded up all the guys to do the search party.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So more Valentin later, I hope. But like, I'm starting
Yeah.
to suspect the dude.
Yeah.
Okay. The next character I want to talk about is Noah. All right. Here's where I'm seeing him as a good guy. Maybe this is why I don't. This is why I'm still single because I like get attracted to the red flags. I don't know. So I mean, y'all know my dating history, so you should know. But I don't think he's as bad as his grandmother is making him out to be. Like, she is making him out to be this like really lazy, and he's playing the role really like perfectly. So like he's also kind of leaning into the role that his grandmother is making him out to be. Like just a spoiled, lazy, privileged guy who's like barely skating by, and you know, the only reason he's still in college is because of who his family is. But I kind of feel like there's a friendship starting to form between him and Minerva, and like I kind of like it when they're together because he like seems to be interested in her, and she keeps like pushing him off, like, no, we're not gonna be friends. I'm just here to like get the work from your grandmother, and that's it. But she also starts feeling bad for him. She starts thinking, you know, maybe he's not as bad as I make him out to be because of the way his grandmother treats him and whatever. I don't know. I'm not feeling a bad vibe from him. But again, I just told y'all, like, I do get attracted to the red flags. So that's just me. But he also mentioned that he learned a lot about the supernatural when he used to like listen to Edgar and Betty talk. So like he knows about all of this stuff too. So I'm thinking in my head, what if he's drinking so much to like drown out everything that's happening? Like he knows what's happening in his family. Like he knows the things that Carolyn's been doing, maybe the things that like he was forced to endure and see or whatever. And like that's why he drinks so much, because let's be real, like he's not gonna be able to get away from his grandmother. And the other thing that I thought of too, like everybody around this whole family is dead. His parents are dead. Edgar's dead. Caroline's friends are all dead. Like Beatrice is dead. Everybody's dead. And so maybe he's just doing that because he knows he can't get away from Caroline. So he's gonna maybe, I don't know. Those were just my thoughts about Noah. You guys obviously don't think that, but I'm just
Yeah.
sharing what I think about poor Noah.
I'm going to reserve my thoughts for Noah for now
Okay.
Okay.
because he's my prediction.
Okay.
I also have some thoughts for Noah that will come later, but I will say, like, I I'm not seeing Noah as like an innocent bystander so much as like if he is not as involved as maybe I think he is. At the same time, I don't want to give him a pass because it's not like he's in my eyes. I don't see him doing anything to prevent this.
True. Yeah.
And he is still living with Carolyn. He is still benefiting from the privilege that her wealth affords him. And, just being a bratty privilege, like skirting by youth who knows he's going to get a cushy job once he barely graduates because his family threw money at the college. So I
But what if
mean,
he's too
he's just kind of
scared?
sitting around allowing it to happen to him rather than, like he doesn't have to do that. If he applied himself, he could go maybe get a scholarship to go somewhere else and move away from home and like make it on his own. He doesn't have
What
to be involved in this.
But what if he's too scared? Like, what if Caroline has threatened him to not be able to do any of that? And maybe now that he met Minerva, maybe he sees something in her that she could possibly help and get him out of the situation. Like, I mean,
Mm.
hell, if all these people were dead around me, I wouldn't want to be the one next to die, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know, just a
Yeah.
thought. Playing devil's advocate, of course.
Yes.
Okay. So those were
Fair.
my two character moments.
Okay. And then, so for me, there was a moment where Minerva was home alone, and then she starts to sense this presence outside of the door. And she goes out there and she's like looking around, and then Conrad just pops up and he just out of the blue invites her to go out with him. And she's first thinking, like, oh, he doesn't want me to submit my report about him having a visitor outside of, visiting hours and also having alcohol in his dorm. But I don't know, like later on, she shoots him down about going out and then he leaves and then she feels the same presence again. So like those two moments together, like I think maybe it was written in that way to make you think like, oh, Conrad wasn't like a bad presence. Like now there's a bad presence, but I don't know that they're different. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it just made me suspect him more. So I'm just looking at him like with a little bit of side eye now.
Hmm.
I
Just that coincidence was a little too
Yeah.
much for me.
I
What do
think
y'all
I'm with
think?
Ethan on this one from our last episode where he said he's that one character that like goes first or whatever, and like he's the guy that dies first in a
Okay.
horror movie. I still think that's true about Conrad. I feel like he's so insignificant, but
Okay.
it could be that you're right and he is the dark presence. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't
I
know.
think he's still kind of like an innocent bystander here.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe he's another minion like Valentin in the 1908 timeline.
All these damn birds.
Just saying.
I mean, honestly, we can't rule anything out. Like we gotta question
Sure.
everything.
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
everything. So yeah.
And then my second thing is kind of the same moment, but now looking at it from the perspective of Minerva. I know she's already had that moment where it seemed like maybe her door was marked, but I feel like this moment where she starts feeling the presence, it was like the exact same feeling that Ginny was feeling at that Halloween party.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's kind of the moment when her bewitching happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it also parallels 1908 when Alba started feeling that outside of her window and she started
Mm-hmm.
hearing those weird noises that
Mm-hmm.
weren't natural. And she thought maybe it was an animal, but it didn't sound like any animal she'd ever heard. And like that's the moment when they start feeling this presence that like shit hits the fan basically. So that was my second moment.
Okay. Very cool, very cool. So I think it's interesting, Jen, that both of us picked those same two because Valentine and Noah were mine.
Mm-hmm.
So Valentine, for the reasons that I've already said, because I picked up on that on him. I was like, dude, you're very mouthy all of a sudden, and you've
Yes.
become more prevalent in
Yep.
Alba's story
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden. And so that made me very, very suspicious. And for the same reason, Noah has become suspicious because we're getting more of him. Now, you could just explain that away of being like, well, we're just further into the book, so we've gotten more of him.
Right.
Sure, but it just there are certain things that are just hitting at certain points that I'm like, it's very odd.
Mm-hmm.
Like things aren't the math isn't mathing, you know. And I hate using cliches like modern cliches like that, but just things are not adding up here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so those two moments kind of paralleled for me, and that's why
Mm-hmm.
those are my two character moments. So nothing really more to add there, but like
Okay.
that's where I'm sus. It's suspicious.
Yeah. But you're thinking different about Noah than what I was thinking. Like
Yes.
you're
Yes,
thinking
I
more on the
am. I
Like
negative
don't.
he's
side.
Yeah, he's not my character moment because I think he's good. He's my
mhm.
character moment because I think he's suspicious.
All right, y'all. So we have made it to our favorite section, which is our one theory and prediction. So for me, this got brought up, and we've been talking about the Wingraves being involved, and so we think like there's some connection there with all of this, like the bewitchment and everything happening and the disappearances. There was a little bit that got mentioned with Caroline's dad. Okay. So Virginia has been talking about a blue overcoat that she's been seeing that's been following her around, because even like Beatrice asked her like, who is it that's following you? Who have you seen? And she says, I haven't seen his face, but he's a man with a blue overcoat. So like she's mentioned that twice, I think. Before they left for Thanksgiving break, Beatrice sees Caroline and her father sitting in the parlor, and she mentions that Caroline's father was wearing a dark navy coat that almost brushed the floor. So, if we're thinking back to the pattern that Ethan mentioned in our first episode about the two families that are connected here, maybe the man with the blue coat is Caroline's father. Like, that's my theory, I guess. Like, I think that we're starting to see more connections with the Wingraves and with all of these disappearances, and this is just another piece to that puzzle.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I totally agree with you. This was actually going to be one of my three things until I noticed it was your theory. But I also picked that up as I was reading 1934 timeline, like
Mm-hmm.
the blue coat. And then even though Beatrice said that he was wearing a navy blue coat when they were talking before Thanksgiving break, I was like, no, this is the guy. Like
Yeah.
he's the one following her. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree.
Interesting. Interesting. I didn't pick that. I didn't pick up on that. So I think that's a good one.
Immediately, like whenever she said the navy coat, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's been talking about a
The blue
man with a
coat.
blue overcoat. Yeah.
So so my theory, and I've kind of already like said this throughout and even like started having this theory in the first episode, but the Yates now are connected to the disappearance of two people in my eye. Because in 1934 we've got Ginny who disappeared, and we know something had to do with like Carolyn and her father. And then, like, shortly after they had that discussion, it seems like Ginny disappeared. And now we also know in the 1998 timeline, like, Thomas was apparently connected to Noah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why Noah looks suspicious to me, because Thomas was helping him, like, tutoring him. And then he started, it seems like, like Conrad told Minerva that he started saying kind of the same things that Ginny was saying when she was feeling someone following them around. And it was after tutoring Noah. So now I'm almost looking at Noah like a minion bringing someone to the witch. Did he bring Thomas as like, a sacrifice or whatever? Like, I don't know if that's the right terminology, but I'm just like, Noah's connected to it. And the Yates are also connected to Ginny's disappearance. Like, I'm worried. So at the end of the 1998 section, Noah offered to take Minerva back to the factory, and he said they can get inside this time. And then, right after that conversation where she agreed to go with him, she finds the dead rat. So I'm like,
Oh,
hell
that's
no.
right. Yeah,
Noah's up
that's
to
right.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to add on to that because this is my prediction as well. So we have the idea of that the Te Loquani feed off of blood and fear.
Hmm.
And then we have that when they go to the factory, she cuts herself and
Yeah.
Oh,
he
that's right.
gives her a
Yeah.
handkerchief and
Oh my
she,
gosh.
you know, she tries to stop the bleeding and
Right.
she doesn't keep it. She gives it back to
She
him.
gives it back. Oh my gosh.
And
And
so
Jovita
that,
mentioned if they get nail clippings or blood. Oh my God.
yeah. So immediately, I think he's probably using it right after they whatever. But that could be a red herring. Maybe he's using it to protect her. I don't know. I don't think so. I think he is a minion of Carolyn, and he may be doing it, against his will. He could have like good intentions, like he doesn't want to do it, but he can't. He's forced to. I don't know, but I do think he is a minion. And I think Conrad is in the story to kind of throw us off. So because it's either Conrad or it's Noah, and so I think it's Noah.
Was there any mention about Virginia maybe like having like cutting herself or something? So I was trying to think back if
But
like
like
that's a
they all
connection to.
lived in the same dorm, so like you could easily get like hair or something like that from someone who lives in a dorm with you, you know?
True. Yeah, you're right. I was just wondering, because I mean, yeah, I forgot about her cutting her hand
Gosh.
and that
Yeah.
happening. Like, completely forgot about that.
Yeah. So that's my prediction.
Oh my
That he's a
gosh. Yeah.
minion.
That's good.
I mean, it could be, yeah, it could be true. I know there was like a mention about whenever when Noah was telling Minerva about Thomas coming around, because she even like asked him like, didn't weren't you guys friends enough to where you invited him to Thanksgiving? And he said no, that was actually Carolyn who invited him to Thanksgiving, and that anytime that Thomas would go to study with Noah, he'd actually go and have tea with Carolyn and talk to her more than he ever did talk to Noah. So I think you're right that he could just be like that middle person bringing the people over that
Yeah.
Carolyn asked for.
And I think it's a
Hmm.
trap, honestly. Like he's so like I could he be doing it against his will? Sure, but I think it's a trap. Like he's getting her to trust him and
Right.
painting himself in this light
Oh, you're
of, oh,
right.
poor little rich boy.
Hmm.
But and he's also feeding her little things like, oh, it's open now, like, and making her believe it more as she's going
Right.
deeper and deeper, and she's believing it more and more, and it's taking a hold on her. And so he's like a little spider here weaving his web.
Okay, okay. I'm starting to believe more that see, I'm telling you guys, I go towards the red flags.
Yeah.
I fall for their stories, y'all.
Yeah, you're like,
Oh, poor guy. Let me fix you. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm just
yeah.
kidding. No, this is
So
why I'm
you're
single
saying you would
though.
go to the factory with him?
I'm saying I would definitely go to the factory with.
Oh my God. All right, you guys. So that was the end of part two of our discussion of The Bewitching by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. But it doesn't end there. Let's keep this discussion going. We are Books Between Friends Pod on all platforms. Please make sure to leave a comment on our clips or on our posts about these episodes. Let us know what your thoughts are, what your theories are. Did you pick up on something that we didn't? Are you seeing patterns that we are missing? Like that's the whole point of having this podcast. We want to hear from you guys and build community that way and just keep the discussion going.
All right, book friends. In part three of The Bewitching, we're diving into chapter 7 of the 1908 time period to chapter 10 of the 1908 time period, and things are getting darker across every timeline. In 1908, Alba faces the growing horrors haunting Piedras Quebradas. In 1934, Beatrice watches Virginia unravel under the weight of something she can't explain. And in 1998, Minerva's search for the truth edges closer to uncovering a pattern that feels all too familiar. Secrets are surfacing, connections are tightening, and the threads between past and present are more tangled than ever. You won't want to miss it.